Welcome to the Unplayable Podcast's rapid recap of the World Test Championship final, and the game has changed on day 3. I'm Josh on a finger, and after going to bed at the innings break, I thought Australia might have just had enough runs. Jack Painter is at Lords and he's about to join us, but first I'll give you a quick update on the scores. South Africa are 69 runs away from victory after an unbeaten ton to Aiden Markram. Mitch Starc and Josh Hazlewood pushed South Africa's target up to 282 with a last wicket stand, but the Proteas ended the day on 2 for 213. Jack, this now looks like South Africa's game to lose.
It is, and they couldn't, could they, Josh? They've had a pretty painful history in ICC World events. Surely there's not another twist in this game. They've got 69 runs to get with 8 wickets in hand. Surely it couldn't be another one of those, another chapter in that wretched World Cup history. But still a bit of cricket to play, but it's South Africa's game to lose, as you say.
South Africa, ICC tournaments and the word choke go hand in hand. I'm sure it will get thrown up tonight. We're not going to mention it. But I'm sure it will be hanging over that side. Jack, give us the moment of the day today.
I think the moment has to be Temba Bavuma, who is unbeaten at stumps with Aiden Markram. When he was on 2, Mitch Starc caught the edge and it flew to Steve Smith at a very, very short second slip. The TV cameras had the sort of data out there, and he was 14 metres from the bat, so very close given how sluggish the Lord's pitch was, and was playing a few tricks with a bit of variable bounce. It meant the ball come quickly. He didn't quite get his hands up, and it copped him on the right little finger. And unfortunately for Australia, that was all we saw of Steve Smith today. He's headed off to hospital with a compound dislocation of his pinky finger on his right hand. So he was still at hospital when we spoke to assistant coach Dan Vittori after play, and that was the big moment, because just in terms of what that means for Steve Smith's immediate playing future, and also his leadership out on the ground as Australia tried to chase the final 8 South African wickets.
Wow, yeah, I just saw a replay of that. So Smith is wearing a helmet, isn't he? He's at first slip, but he's so close, he's got the helmet on. And I'm guessing 14 metres, that's probably about half of the distance he might stand at the Gabba or somewhere in Australia.
Yeah, well, to put it into perspective, he's probably standing just over halfway down the pitch, like less than
less than a pitch length. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So very, very close, and also just the implications of the catch. Bavuma was on of the drop catch. Sorry, Bavuma was on 2. He's gone on to post 65 not out at stumps. So that was a significant moment in itself, as he was able to sort of establish a dominant partnership with Aiden Markram there.
And I guess if the slip scored in is so close, does that mean the ball's staying a bit low? It's not doing a whole lot at this stage of the game?
It was definitely shooting through from that end that Starc was bowling at the time, the pavilion end. Wasn't much carry, a lot of balls on the bounce to Alex Carey, so that's why the slips came up. It's just this one happened to be a bit back of the length and sort of caught the shoulder of the bat and flew quite quickly. So it was at about chest height, which, trying to get up from a crouching position to your chest height in such a short space of time, he really had no chance. There would have been a brilliant catch had he ended up taking it. But the pitch really flattened out on day 3. Just the 4 wickets to fall compared to 28 on the first 2 days. Dan Vittori described it as quite benign after play, and even the Proteas batters said it was slowing up and became not easy to score. I think still quite hard to score, but there wasn't that ball that had your name on it. So the wicket chances dried up.
Yeah, I mean, we're a big fan of Josh Hazlewood on this podcast, but he survived 50 balls in the morning session, didn't he? So probably a sign that batting wasn't as difficult today. Let's talk about Aiden Markram. Guessing he was the innings of the day today, Jack?
He was, yeah, chanceless. I don't think he offered a chance all day, and as soon as he got set, it just looked like he had that determination to go on and rewrite the history for South Africa at world events. So, yeah, superb knock, and there was a moment there he kind of got stuck in the 90s towards the end of play, but got there with 2 minutes to spare when he flicked Josh Hazlewood pretty powerfully through mid-wicket for 4 to bring up his 8th Test century and his 3rd against Australia, and probably his most important in his career.
Yeah, massive one for Markram. I remember thinking or being a bit bemused when he was dropped ahead of South Africa's last tour of Australia. So He's all class. He's back at the top of the order and scoring tons. Any controversies today, Jack, that we should be aware of back home?
Well, not quite yet, but our Aussie listeners will be familiar with the ball change at the Oval in 2023 in that fifth Ashes Test. We had one today in the close of dying stages of day three. The Australians had been desperately searching for a wicket. They were trying to get the ball changed for a couple of overs, and eventually the umpires relented. So we haven't quite seen enough of it yet. Josh Hazelwood's only bowled the one over with the new ball, or not new ball, but the new old ball, I should say. But definitely did look a little bit harder. So whether that changes things tomorrow morning, and whether Australia have got enough runs left to play with is another question. But yeah, it's one to keep an eye on in the opening session tomorrow.
Smith drop catch aside, any other blunders to speak of?
I think the one to sort of point out here, Josh, would be not having a recognised batter in overnight. Alex Carey sort of got dismissed in towards the close of play on day two, and I think if Australia had a few more wickets in hand, and especially a recognised batter in today, they could have batted for quite a long time and posted quite a bigger total. I remember we spoke last night and we thought Australia already had enough runs in the bank. South Africa were going to have to score the biggest total in the game to win the match. Well, they're well on track to do that, and it just hindsight's a wonderful thing. But if they just have had Carey still in there, maybe one of the other batters still in there, they potentially could have batted for a lot longer today.
Was there any movement at all to speak of? Because I'm looking at the figures and they're chalk and cheese between the first and the second innings from the Aussie bowlers. I mean, Cummins only bowled 10 overs, none for 36. Hazelwood, none for 43.
Yeah, well, not really. The movement was more sort of up and down for the quick bowlers. Mitchell Starc only bowled 3 overs in his first spell before he was taken off. There wasn't really much swing there. The movement sort of came from Nathan Lyon. He was able to get some really big turn in the final session. There's quite a few byes that went past Alex Carey from spinning outside off to outside leg that he missed. There was one moment where Markram went for a flashing drive, missed it, and sort of beat the inside edge, went over the stumps, and Carey missed it as well. So there's a couple of those instances where they got a few free runs really by the ball sort of getting through off the pitch and turning quite big. So potentially that's one to keep an eye on again in the morning. But Australia probably just don't have enough runs in the bank for Lyon to be able to sort of rip through the middle order.
Now, Temba Bavuma, he's the South Africa skipper. He's sitting on 65 not out at stumps. From what I've seen, Jack, his captaincy has been very good, so I might get your thoughts on that. But he's also nursing a bit of a hamstring injury, I believe. How did that happen?
Yeah, he is. So he went for a quick single. Not long after he was dropped by Smith, he pushed for a quick single to mid-on and set off and pulled up quite sharply towards the end of that run. By the end of the over, he had a bit of treatment, and they strapped up his left hamstring. It was used quite a lot of tape. They probably got through a couple of rolls on his leg there, I reckon. But he was able to carry on. Like, he looked like he was limping, he was hobbling, but they were still able to run twos. I think they might have got a couple of threes as well. So it didn't seem to affect his batting. And the Proteas batting coach Ashwell Prince spoke after stumps that they actually had a bit of a conference at the tea break as to whether he would come back out, just to whether it would affect his batting and his stroke play, and also Aiden Markram's rhythm. But both of those batters were adamant that Temba Bavuma had to continue with his knock, and that partnership was key to the Proteas getting in a strong position.
Yeah, good captaincy and good leadership there from the South Africans. Who did we spot in the crowd today, Jack?
Yeah, a couple of famous faces. Pat Cash was sitting in the crowd, captured on the broadcast cameras, looking very smart in his blazer, the former Aussie tennis star and Wimbledon winner. So he was spotted in the crowd, as was Mick Jagger. He was in a beige cap and in a jacket in the crowd, also having a good time. So the lead singer of the Rolling Stones. So a couple of familiar faces for our English and Aussie fans.
Yeah, nice. What's your favourite Stones song, Jack?
I can't say I've listened to too many Rolling Stones songs, a bit before my time. I'm big Coldplay fan though.
What did they serve up on the lunch menu today?
They had the North Sea cod. So we had the Scottish salmon yesterday and the North Sea cod today.
Wow.
Must have been caught in the North Sea, that one. And some wild mushroom truffle pasta and a bit of a grilled chili chicken salad. You will know you will be pleased to know, Josh, that I was able to get a taste of both main courses today. So they must have been listening to the Unplayable podcast last night and changed that policy overnight.
So what's been your favourite one so far? Day 1, day 2, or today's North Sea cod?
It's a very good question. I think it was hard to go past day 1. That was where we had the glazed lamb. That was very, very tasty. But the good thing is, we looked for a while there, we wouldn't get a fourth lunch, but thankfully the game's been pushed into a fourth day, and we'll have another lunch report tomorrow.
Jack, once again, thank you so much for joining us, giving us the update from Lords on the Unplayable podcast. We'll be back to wrap up day 4 when the match inevitably ends. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.